good morning friends. Diana here from Garden Love. Today I'm going to make a video that's long overdue. I promised you guys that I would be making this video, and I'm about to pot some of these fruit trees that I have here behind me. But before I use the soil, or I don't use the soil, I want to show you guys what I've been talking about the type of soil you're going to use for your containers if you're growing fruit trees, because it makes a huge difference when it comes to growing fruit trees in containers. For example, I mentioned that you need something that's well draining. Okay, very important that it drains really well. I got something in my eye. Making sure that it drains really well is like one of the most important things that you can do for your fruit trees. I would rather you add excessive amount of holes than not enough holes, because you can always give it more water, and if you have too little holes, it's hard to drain the water and you can get root rot and trunk rot, and you don't want that. Okay, so with that being said, you want to make sure that your roots are not always sitting in water. You want to make sure that it's well draining. The holes help a lot, but you also want to make sure that the soil you're using doesn't hold that much moisture, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get some soil from each one of these soils that I picked. That one is, you guys know I love E.B. Stone Organic Citrus and Pond for fruit trees in containers. I don't care what fruit tree you're growing, I love the soil for containers. Now we're talking strictly for containers. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill it up halfway. Okay, and I drill some little holes under them, and then I'm going to fill it up with water. That way we can see how the soil looks once it's been wet, how much moisture it holds, and we can compare the soils. I've got some water here ready for us to go, and you can see what would work for you. Okay, now I live in the extreme heat. I would say this is desert-like weathers. Okay, there you go. So maybe I should label this. I don't think I have a Sharpie in here. Great. All right, I'm just gonna try to keep them where they're at. So this is E.B. Stone. I'm going to, you know what, this is what I'll do. I'll use a water bottle to water it down so we can see how well the moisture stays in there. We can see how well it drains. And I can tell you that just by looking at the soil, even if these containers get mixed up, I will know which soil is which. There's an obvious difference between all of them, and I'll show you guys that in a little after we do this. While this is draining, I can show you guys the difference. I'll bring you guys closer, but I'm gonna make sure, since this soil has been sitting for a minute, it doesn't have a lot of moisture to begin with. So the key is that we want to make sure that it gets all the moisture, because when you water your plants, you want to make sure that you're giving it a good amount of water. That way all the soil that's inside the container is getting good moisture. It's everywhere inside the container, not just around the pot. That's very important. You want to make sure that you don't leave your containers without water for a long time, because, well, this one, it kind of floated up to the top. And this is the cactus, palm, and citrus soil from Miracle-Gro. I've used it before. It's been my experience that it holds too much moisture. It also has been my experience that it doesn't drain well, and I've killed a few trees with the soil. But a lot of you guys ask me if that's a good soil to use, and I try to reply to everybody, but I do have a busy life. I work full-time. And here, let's see what this is doing. As you can see, it's not draining. It even has a little crack, so it's not draining really well. It's not absorbing the water right away. You kind of have to play with it, which is something you don't want in case your pots go without water. When you re-water it, you don't want it to just not get absorbed by the soil. And as you can see, look at what it's doing. Okay, this is the Miracle-Gro soil. So I'm gonna have to give it some help so all the soil gets moisture in it, because I'm seeing pockets of just, it's draining, but I'm seeing pockets of dry soil, so that's not good. And you guys saw that I put the same amount of soil in each container, roughly, give or take. It definitely wasn't all the way up to here, so there's all of this water. So let's see what happens to that. I'm gonna rinse my hands because I don't want to contaminate the soil. Let's see this one. This is the from Kellogg's, the palm and cactus soil. So the water, it is still draining. You can tell that most of it got water, but see, this is what happens when you don't water your plants for a while. The water will go all around, and the center of it, where usually your root ball is, will be dry. So I'm going to give it some more water so that way we can get better contact with the soil, because I really want everything to be moist. So this, whoa, sorry guys, this is the EB Stone Citrus and Palm, and as you can see, literally, I'm not joking guys, I really hope this video does it justice. Look, literally everything had contact with the exception of a little air pockets. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the rest. I am going to give it a little bit more water to help it out, but there was a lot less air pockets. And this one actually was the container that didn't crack when I drilled the hole, so it has a lot less holes. I'll show you guys. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay, so look at how well that's draining. Okay, this is the EB Stone. I just pour some water. Now, this one has a slightly crack, so it has a little bit more holes than EB Stone, and let's see how well this drains. So let's see, my hand's draining. You guys see that? It's draining. Not as well as EB Stone. As you guys see, there's still a lot of pockets of water here, so it's not draining as well as the EB Stone. It still has the same amount of holes. Look at that. I hope you guys can see that. And since we're doing the drain test, let's go ahead and grab this one again. Let's see how well this drains. You know what, I gotta take my gloves off because my gloves are the ones that are draining, because they're like a big pocket of water. Let's do that again. So this one has a huge crack at the bottom of this container. And let's see how well is that draining. It's draining because of the crack. If you guys can see that, I chose this container for a reason. Look at that crack. It still has holes, but it's not draining like the EB Stone. In fact, everything's floating up. It's retaining a lot more water. It's taking longer to drain. It gave it a few, you know, it took a while for all the soil to get contact, and you can see the sections of water. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. This is what I've been telling you guys, the difference in soil and how it can make a difference when it comes to planting your fruit trees in container. I mean, this, I'm gonna give it some more water and see what happens. Okay, look at the holes down there. Okay, let's see what happens again if you give it more water. The water is literally going through the soil and draining. This container has the least holes from all three, and look at that. So if you live in an area where, you know, there's humidity, you definitely don't want to go with the other two. You're gonna want to go with something that's gonna drain well, because you don't want to have your tree sitting in basically water. So that's that one. Let's see how well this one's draining. So this one's, there's still water in there. You can see it right there. Look at the bubble. You can see the water. It's still draining. It's taking a little longer to drain. And this one is completely filled with water. So if you have a fruit tree sitting in this is what your roots are going to be sitting in water, pockets of water everywhere. Okay, now if you have a tree that loves water, maybe this might be well, but the only tree that I could think that absolutely loves water is going to be the waba. My waba tree loves water, and this might be maybe I would mix a little bit of this with the citrus and palm because it likes more water, but I do not. Even if it likes water, I don't want my tree sitting in water like this. So definitely I don't recommend the Miracle. I wanted to do this test to show you guys because I could talk about it all day long and tell you guys what it does and what it doesn't, but there's nothing like a test like this that can actually show you how much water it's retaining. Okay, that's the biggest reason most trees die is because of so much water retention, and your roots are basically swimming and eventually rotting, and you don't want that. So, you know, use it to your discretion. It's sad that they put here a lemon tree because I've tried my lemon trees when I first started, like 7, 8, 9 years ago when I first started growing fruit trees. I tried this and it killed my trees. So that's the reason why it's so important for me to prove this to you guys, because I want all of you guys to be growing fruit trees in containers if you don't have the room for it. Or maybe there's other reasons why you might be growing fruit trees in containers even if you have the room. I've came to learn that here at my homestead, because we'll get into that in a different video. But fruit trees in containers are amazing. You do get fruit. You've seen all of my videos where I'm harvesting fruit from my containers. But now that I showed you guys this, okay, let me see if I could dry my hands up a little bit, because I want to show you what the actual soil looks like. Okay, look at this. See if you guys can see what this soil looks like. You can see that they have all sorts of things, even sticks in there. This is what this looks like. I'm gonna put it back in there and I'm gonna rinse my hands so I don't contaminate them. Let me show you Evie Stone. Evie Stone, look it looks like there is some sort of rocks in here, from like volcano rocks. There's all sorts of goodness in here. Now let me show you. Look at this. This almost looks like there's tons of little wood chips in here. There's no volcano rocks in here. It looks like there's perlite or vermicula. I'm not sure which one it is, but look at that. That's what they look like. So I hope that this video is helping you guys, because I've had a lot of questions about the soil. A lot of you guys have mentioned that there is no citrus and palm Evie Stone in your area. So maybe what you can do is go with Kellogg's. Okay, you see that it does drain. Maybe you guys can add some volcano rocks to it. Maybe you can add some, let's see here, I forget which one. Vermicula is the one that drains better. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry about that, but you got to get either vermicula or the other one that drains better. So maybe add a little bit of that in this so it can help it drain a little bit better, because even though it's supposed to be for citrus and palm, it's not draining as well as the Evie Stone. See, it's still draining. This one's, the water doesn't come out as easily when you do that. Can you guys see that? Let's do this one. Look at how well the water comes out of that one. That's because it's still going through the process. And look at how intact. See, it doesn't stick, which means it's not holding that much moisture. Let me go to the next one. This one sticks a lot more. That sticks way more. And to top it off, there's still pockets of there's still dryness. I don't know if you can see that. There's still pockets of dryness. You guys see that? All right, let me show you how this one looks. See that? Get you guys in the sun. And let me show you what Evie Stone looks like. Maybe the camera doesn't do it justice. Here, this one, so you guys can see it in the sun. Maybe it doesn't do it justice. Maybe you guys can't tell. I'm hoping that the water test gave you guys an idea. This one still has water sitting in there. Look, I'm gonna squeeze water out of it. And it's still having a hard time coming out. Anyways, friends, so there we go. These are 3 soils that I've tried in the past, and quite frankly, like I mentioned, EB Stone is the best in my opinion. If you don't have access to EB Stone, if I had to choose between these two, I would go to Kellogg's, because at least it's draining, at least there's less contact. And I would mix it with something else. I would do a little bit of research and mix it with something else. Maybe in the near future I'll test out what I can mix with that to come close to EB Stone quality, because I want you all to start growing fruit trees, and I don't want you to get discouraged when your fruit trees start to die. I don't want them to die. I want them to be a success for you. So I'm really looking forward for you guys sending me messages, showing me pictures that you guys are growing fruit trees in containers. Now I'm going to stop this video here, and I'm going to continue with another video and transplant some fruit trees. That way I can show you my process on how to up pot fruit trees. We can talk about what I do and the process so you guys can see it. And that's it, guys. I hope that you guys are encouraged by this video. It gave you good information, and continue to grow something, plant something, and create something beautiful. You guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye.